Bill, how pleased are you at the development of Frank Mason?
I think he's done really well. I am happy. I think that he's very competitive and he tries real hard and he gives us a burst of energy and athleticism that really nobody else in our program has, as far as being quick with the ball and things like that. So I think that he's done quite well. He's played really well of late, and of course in the Baylor game, I thought he was the best player we had.
Did he hit a stretch there where he was? I mean, he started so well. Maybe he just started too high because he was low minutes and low impact.
I don't know if it was a stretch as a negative stretch as it was what I thought our team needed. Sometimes against certain teams, it's hard to play two little guards. That means one of them's guarding Kane or I'm trying to think who else we played right after Iowa State. I thought there was another, Oklahoma State, one of them's guarding Smart, or whatever. So we elected to go with Wayne on that. So that means we start Oklahoma State game with our littlest guy guarding their three-man with Brian Williams. So sometimes it's hard to play two little guys at the same time from a defensive standpoint. But from an offensive standpoint, I think it's worked out pretty well. And Nadir, when he's making shots and playing like that, and if Wiggs and Selden are playing well, which they've gone through periods of time where they have been, I think sometimes he's not the odd man out, but his minutes are lower quite a bit more because of matchups probably than anything else.
Looking back to tape of your guys' turnovers against Baylor, was it forced, unforced? What did you see?
What do we have, 15 or 16? I would say that we're going to turn it over. I mean, we are. We're not the best ball handling and passing team that we've ever had here. So we turn it over 8 or 10 times just by other teams getting in the way, so to speak. But I would say another 6 to 8 were just totally unforced. I mean, just not being strong with the ball, to catching the ball with one hand, to trying to dribble fumbles instead of pick them up. I mean, those are things that are correctable, but you would think by now we would be better at it than what we are. So that's certainly moving forward. We've got to eliminate bad possessions where we come away with nothing, and that would be a great way for us to play better if we just get our turnovers down from 15 or whatever it is to 11 or 12 a game. That's a big difference in having a chance to win or not.
When you have so many newcomers, what happened last year down in Fort Worth, can that still be a motivating factor?
Yeah, you know what? I think it could be. I've never been one to kind of use that stuff as motivation. We played them since then, and obviously this is a whole new team, but we'll talk about it, and we'll have tape on it and that kind of stuff, and obviously our defense wasn't that bad. You'd think you hold a team to 22 and a half, you'd be at least in the game, but when you go 3 of 23 from the field and have like 11 turnovers in a half, I mean that was just a poor half of basketball, and they deserve credit because they caused it, but still yet we could play a lot better than that. So it may be some motivation, but I don't know if it's going to be the determining factor if we're ready to play or not.
Bill, was that game one of the more bizarro games that you've ever been a part of?
Bizarro?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
It's just a weird game.
Yeah, it is. It's without question one of the strangest games that I've been a part of, and I've been a part of some strange games. I mean, we've had some games where you score at will one half, and some games you can't score a lick the next. Big leads that shrink. We've been behind, 19 or 20 and a half, and come back and win. I mean, there's been a lot of things. I think that's. I really think if you were going to evaluate our games over time compared to other good programs over time, I think everybody has bizarre games. I don't think we've had more than anybody else, but it certainly seems that way. And that was one of the strangest games we've been a part of because I was reminded today by one of our coaches saying, Bill, I don't know if you remember, that's the most ready to play we've been all year. Best practices, most intense warm-up, everybody focused, all that stuff, and we came out and laid an egg. So I don't know if there's really a correlation on sometimes over time, it's how you practice will be how you play, but sometimes it can jump up and shock you, and that was one of those times that shocked us.
What do you do as a coach when you see a team that's 0-5? How do you get your guys so they're not in that mindset that this is just a roll it out and play type of game?
I don't know if try to make it where the next game's the biggest game on your schedule, which it is. I mean, last year, you win the league outright if you take care of business in Fort Worth. Of course, we could have won it outright if we took care of business in Waco. I mean, there's always something you could have taken care of business and done a better job. But I don't think that we'll do anything. I don't think that you can have all these tactics and ploys to get a guy really ready or a team really ready for this one event in basketball, because there's so many one events. It's not like football where you got to get jacked up 3 or 4 times a year if you're really good to win the big games. This is a sport where it's. I think you kind of, you want to get them fired up, don't get me wrong, get them mentally ready, but I don't think you make this out to be so big, and then you come back the next game and said, well, that was big, but this was even bigger, and you come the next game, well, that was bigger, but this is even the biggest, and I don't think you can do that in basketball. So it's on the guys to get themselves ready to play and understand they got a job to do and go do their job, and you can't do your job without energy and enthusiasm.
So can it be more difficult to go into maybe an environment like TCU where maybe it doesn't have kind of the energy of playing at Hilton?
Well, I do think this. I do think our guys enjoy playing in front of energy. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So we're spoiled here by our fans and what we play in front of every day. And then we go on the road and we play in front of a 90% field building or 95% field building, and we think, God dang, where is everybody? And the home team is thinking this is the best crowd we've had all year. So we have to be cautious about that. But that's where it goes back. You got a job to do. Go do your job. It's the building will be full at TCU, I would think. Last year was full, and NCAA tournament games, very rarely are they full. Very rarely. So unless you play in Kansas City, which was nice, but for the most part. These are the type of environments that are the environments you have to play well in to advance.
Bill, 18 days ago, no one was panicking, but if they would have told you that, after losing San Diego State, that you have a 2-game conference lead just a little over 2 weeks from now, how big a surprise would that have been? And is it the tough schedule itself that maybe has prepared you to have this great stuff?
It would have surprised me. We after the San Diego State game, I don't know if I meant this, but I said it. We've got a better chance going 0-5 than we do 5-0, and I didn't tell the players that, but I told our staff that, and they're like, "Oh, no, we don't." And I'm like, "Going, yeah, did you not just watch what I saw?" And so, obviously we were down about that one game, but I really think just a couple of plays have keyed us. I think shooting the ball well early, Wayne getting on a roll early in the game against Oklahoma, and the hustle play that he and Joe and Perry made on that one possession, I really think that spearheaded our conference season. I think that one play has got it where it's more contagious and things like that, and kind of gave us a kind of new life. But yeah, I would have been surprised. Not that I didn't think we were a good team. I just at that moment I didn't think we were a good team.
Coach, you made a comment, I think, after the San Diego State game where you mentioned that you felt maybe you and your coaches had yet to really get your best feel on how to use the rotation and how to work the guys best together. After going 5-0 now, as you feel like.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember exactly what I said because as you know, I can say things and off the top of my head and have no thought on why I said them. But in this particular case, I do think that we were a team, and I still think this because I told our guys yesterday, we're still a team that hasn't figured it out yet. I mean, if we figured it out yet, then why are we playing 10 guys? You don't need to play 10 guys. You need to play 9 guys. You need a 5th guy to come through, and really when the 5th guy comes through, there's really no reason to play a 6th or whatever. So unless fouls or injuries dictate that you do so. And so right now we're kind of in a situation where we haven't quite figured it out yet. One day seems like Connor gives us a spark. Another day it's Brandon that gives us a spark. And trust me, those kids would rather know going in saying, I know I'm going to get these minutes and I know I'm going to be his sub. But there's some things that we haven't quite figured out yet. And, one thing we haven't done yet because sometimes it hasn't allowed itself. We hadn't even played our two bigs together much at all. But when they have played together limited minutes, they played well. So that's something else that we can maybe do. And then, we haven't played small. We got a little small package we can play, but we haven't played small yet. So there's a lot of things that I think that we can do to basically become more of a whole team and be more comfortable with it that we just haven't really quite figured out yet. And I'm not sure that's unusual. I think there's a lot of times that happens with coaches and teams.
There were
Just
two
tell me,
times.
do you pay much close attention to the conference standings and size things up, or do you not?
I could not tell you who anybody in our league plays this week except for who we play. So I don't get hung up on that at all. I just know everybody plays each other twice. But I mean, I'm not going to lie and say I don't look at it. And there's times where maybe I pull for certain teams more than I pull for others. But it's up to us. I mean, it doesn't matter what everybody else does as long as we do what we want to do. And that's the way I think everybody looks at it. Like, they can't worry about what Kansas does. We just got to take care of business ourselves, and that's how I look at it. We can't worry about what everybody else does. We just got to take care of business ourselves, because if you do that, it's going to be such an emotional roller coaster that you can get caught up on that. Now, the last 2 weeks of the season, that would be a lie. Of course, we're going to look, but right now, too early to even pay attention.
There were two times in the Baylor game where the referees went to the monitors to look at elbows, and neither time there was a foul.
Well, the second time they only went to the monitor because I told them to, because they went to the monitor because he told them to. So I mean, that I knew there was nothing. I just wanted to do it. But because that's how the game started. But officials have a hard job, and the way the rules are, if there's a chance that it happened and a coach requested, then they're obligated to go look. So, and even the one official told me, Bill, it was nothing. I said, "Are you positive?" He said, "Yeah, I'm positive." I said, "Well, okay, look at it anyway." But that was I think that's a negative part of our game. It's too slow. It slows the game up too much. We're going to but it's not the official's fault, because the rules say to do that. I think we're going to the monitor way too much. So,
what are your thoughts on this TCU team?
Much improved from last year. 9-3 non-conference. Got 3 road wins non-conference. In conference play, they played better than the record. Even though last night they could have won that game in Norman. I mean, that was a tie game with about 6 left, and a 3 or 4 point game, and they missed like 3 free throws in a row when they had a chance, in the last 2 minutes. So that could have been a great road win for them. And we know OU can score easy, so much better, good, sound defensively, and when they make shots, they're definitely a dangerous team. And Anderson's obviously having a very good year.
Did you recruit Shepard seriously?
Yeah, we recruited Kavar hard. Yeah, it's weird how things work out. We offered Kavar a scholarship, and we only had one to give, and if he'd have taken it, then we would have been out on Joe, but he committed to TCU, and Kavar Shepard's going to be a good player. There is no question he's going to be a good player, and he's getting better all the time. But that's how recruiting works sometimes. You recruit a couple of guys, and the timing needs to be right. But I'm really high on him. I think he's got a chance to be very, very good.
Do you think Black is playing better off the bench than he did as a starter? What do you think of his progress?
Well, I think Tark's played great. His minutes have been limited, in large part because Joe's gotten better. But he's been much better, in my opinion. I think everybody would agree, since Christmas. Or maybe even since like the Georgetown game. He had like 17 against Georgetown coming off the bench than what he was as a starter. And, to me, it's hard to, when you got 2 fouls with 17 minutes left in the first half most every game, it's hard to get in the flow. But now he gets 2 fouls and there's only 11 minutes left because he's coming off the bench, so maybe that makes him feel a little better. But I like what he's giving us off the bench, energy and toughness and rebounding.
Is his ankle fine, Coach?
He didn't practice yesterday, but he should practice today. Now I don't know how much he'll go, but he'll be fine Saturday.
Do you remember your post-game comments, I guess, last year?
Do I remember them?
And how much kind of play? I think that was the Topeka YMCA, right?
Right, like you don't remember.
Coming up. You kind of joked about just things coming up off the top of your head.
Yeah, that was one of those times that maybe I say some things and haven't put a lot of thought into them, but in no way did I mean that. And I honestly, I didn't mean that in a negative way towards TCU. They beat us. We had 2 teams whip us last year, TCU and Baylor. Everybody else was a one-possession game. Of our other 4 losses. So, I mean, they handled us. So there was nothing taken away from them. But on our own performance, I thought it was, obviously it was frustrating that we were a team that was, I think, won. The week prior we won like 19 in a row, and to go down and score 3 field goals in a half, I thought was a little disheartening at the moment. But we did have 3 assists. So there's no other game we played this year where we've had 100% assist to field goals made. No other game. So you can spin it into a positive if you do that.
You mentioned Tark, but how do you like your big guy rotation right now, the way it's worked with Jamari and Tark kind of playing early in the first half and then going to Embiid kind of late? I guess it's kind of the way it's worked.
Yeah, it has been. But, I don't know exactly what the minutes are, but, Joe can go about 7, and then Tarek can play 6 or 7, and then if Joe's playing well and doesn't get a foul, then he'll probably finish the half. That's kind of been how it is. But Maury and Perry's been totally different. Maury and Perry's been like whoever's playing the best. So and there's been times where both of them have played well, and one's played better than the other, but the one that we usually play is the one that's been playing better at that particular moment. Just like in the last 2 home games, Jamari's been better. But in the second half, Jamari didn't play much at all because Perry was so good. So I think that's kind of nice to have, whoever's kind of got a hot hand, so to speak, we can run with it.
Before the season, I think that this team would be more similar to some of the teams you've had where you had the numbers in the front court, more depth compared to last year. Has it played out like you wanted it to?
Yeah, from a big man rotation standpoint, absolutely. It's we don't want to foul. I'm not saying we do, but it's not the end of the, earth if we do get a couple of fouls by guys early, and I think that's important that you have that. Last year, if Kevin or Jeff got one early, oh geez, it's like, okay, how are we going to massage this? And although those thoughts enter your mind, but not the same way they have in the past.
Bill, you talk about your guys' offense, and it's been so good. You're a little bit unique, though. It's been so good, but you feel like there's still way more.
I think our offense hasn't been so good. I think our numbers have been good, but our numbers are misleading because you look at field goal percentage, and you guys look at that Kim Palm offensive efficiency stuff. I don't know where we rank or whatever, but we shoot a really high field goal percentage. But I would bet we don't rank that high because our turnovers are so high. And so, I would rather shoot 48% and turn it over 12 times a game than shoot 51% and turn it over 16. Although it's been good, it hasn't been like what it can be. And so I'm not too excited. I'm glad we're shooting a decent percentage because we're taking the ball inside, but we're wasting way too many possessions.
I don't know if this is connected to turnovers at all, but would you like to be scoring more in transition? I mean, would you like to be?
Well, if you play faster and shoot faster, you have less turnovers because there's not as many opportunities to pass it. That's actually a coaching philosophy. Let's shoot it quick before we turn it over. I would like to be scoring more in primary. I think that we can do that if we rebound the ball defensively better and if we create more havoc or deflections or steals defensively. But I also like, when you have big guys, I also like to get the ball side to side and get those guys touches after the ball's moved. And so I think it's a decent balance. We're scoring as many points now as what we have basically any other year, except I think our national championship year we averaged close to 81 and we're averaging 79 now. So we're not that far off what our best scoring teams could do. But we're probably scoring the ball better in the half court than what our other teams have. But we're not scoring it as well in the open court, and that's something that we certainly need to improve on.
When you were talking about foul trouble the other night when Nadir had 2 in the first half, was it good given how hot he's been? Do you think it was good for this team to kind of have to play without him for a little bit?
I look at it after the fact that I would say yes. But I would say that if Wiggs had 2 fouls or if Wayne or Joe had 2 fouls or 3 fouls, if it turns out good, then I think it was good, So in that situation, I would say yes. Plus Frank needed minutes. I played Nadir. you know, I can play a guy with 2 fouls in the first half, but, you know, we go to Oklahoma and Nadir gets 2 on the road, and I trust him to play smart, and he reaches in almost as soon as he gets in, he gets his third. And Frank can't bail us out because Frank already had 2. And I didn't want to get them both 3 fouls in the first half, which turned out to be a blessing that it happened because Connor was so good in that moment. But we got to play a little smarter so that way we don't have to go to the bench every time a guy gets 2 fouls early in the second half.
How did the guys do in class first semester?
Well, everybody did fine. The definition of fine is relevant, though. I think everybody can probably do better, but our grades and what we did was good. Happy with it. Everybody took care of their business, but I think there were some C's that could be B's, and there were some B's that could be A's, and along that line. But I was pretty proud of how they did. Especially that was a bad travel first semester. I mean, we never missed school like that, especially leading right up into finals. So I thought they hunkered down and did pretty well.
Did you accomplish a lot over break with the extra practice time?
I don't know if it was the extra practice time as much as it was chalk talk and film sessions and things like that, but I don't know if we did or not. I'd like to think we did. I know the kids are excited that the school started. You don't see that very often, getting all these other students back on campus. But I think we got better over break, but it's still too early to say.
Well, you said something the other night after the game about Andrew, about how as good as he's been, he still kind of leaves you wanting more sometimes.
Yeah, that was meant as a compliment. Yeah.
So. What areas could
he? When I look at Andrew, if and I talked to him about it with his dad afterwards, he had 17 points the other night. If he's strong with the ball after he rebounds it, he scores 20 or 21 because they strip him, or whatever, and that would be a foul if you are more aware and if you're stronger. It's not that I want him shooting it more. I just want him to have more of a presence, because there's not too many guys out there that you look at and you say, okay, yeah, he got 20, but it could have been 28, or he got 16, but it could have been 22, or he had 8 rebounds, but it could have been 14, and that's what I talk about. I think his numbers should be in the vicinity of 20 and 10 every game. But it's not going to happen like that, and I know that. And sometimes you don't make shots, but I think, just like the other day, he didn't put his head down and drive it at all the first half. The second half, he drove it every time and got fouled like on 3 or 4 straight possessions. Well, to me, those are free points, and he's got to be more aggressive doing things like that. But he's done well. I mean, everybody's on Joe right now, which they should be. But Joe's stats aren't as good as Andrew's. When you look at it, if you're talking about, well, he's averaging 10 a game, well, Andrew's averaging 16, and Joe's averaging 7 rebounds a game. Andrew's averaging 6. But potentially, and how much he's improved of late, and limited minutes and that kind of stuff, you can make a case that Joe's production has been as good as anybody on our team. But Andrew's done a lot of good things. I mean, here's a kid out there playing 36, 38 minutes in a tough ball game, not getting a break, and also guarding the other team's best player at crunch time.